and welcome to the Marcus and Mike Show. I am Mike, and the man to my left is Marcus. Marcus, how you doing today, bud?
Pretty good. The Red Sox have already lost today, so that's I love when we talked about this before. I love when the Yankees and Red Sox lose. Red Sox have already lost today, so it's already been a pretty good day. And man, I was up till 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, whatever, just to see if the Yankees would lose. And the Angels, the Yankees did win. They won in 14. They beat the Angels 4-3. And part of the reason the Angels lost was Jonathan Lucroy, the catcher of the Angels, couldn't even find the first base. I mean, he threw that thing way wide.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess he was ready to go home to the wife or something. But Yankees won last night in 14. But Red Sox lost today, so I'm already a little happy.
Anytime, you have to be the biggest Yankee/Red Sox hater out there, I think, because you gloat every time they get beat, and that kind of makes me smile a little bit inside. Speaking of losing, though, your Houston Astros have lost 4 out of the last 5 games after winning 10 in a row. What are your thoughts on that, man? How do you feel about that? How does that make you feel inside, Marcus?
Well, look, baseball is a marathon season. I mean, we're a little disappointed. The Astros have dropped these the 3 in a row, 4 out of 5, whatever it was, after winning 10 in a row. But baseball is such a long season that you kind of just got to get over it real quick and move to the next game. But what's a little bit puzzling is they've given up 9 runs in 3 straight games for the first time in 2 years. But the good news is the last time that the Astros in 2017 gave up 9 runs in 3 straight games, they went on to win the World Series. And they got one at ease. See?
There you go.
Championship ring right here. It's a little replica. It's one of my prized possessions. I like wearing it sometimes, freak people out. But the last time the Astros lost 3 straight games by giving up 9 runs in each game, they went on to win the World Series. So it's a little, That's just the way baseball is, especially when you have a really good team like the Astros.
Yeah, and quite frankly, April doesn't mean anything right now. I believe there's a player with the Brewers that has the most home runs before May 1st. He has 15 home runs. The name is slipping my mind. I was looking for it earlier, but he has 15 home runs at home, but he has 0 home runs on the road. But he does have the most home runs before May 1st. It is the guy from the Brewers. Yeah, his name's slipping my mind, but I'm still kind of bitter about the Brewers by taking away all of my guys. They took away Moustakas, they took away Kane and our pitching staff. So I wish ill will on the Brewers.
No, I'm right there with you. And then a little side note to baseball last night: Fernando Rodney, the closer for the Twins, who's been around forever, guy, he's almost as old as I am. We're right around the same age. He passed up this thing about this for a second. He passed up Cy Young for the most appearances. Going to the mound, most not plate appearances, but mound appearances. With 907. Think about that for a second, Michael. You go to 907 appearances in Major League Baseball. Fernando Rodney moved, I think, to 24th all time, passing up Cy Young last night in his when he closed out the Astros there. That's an amazing feat, man. You got to give Fernando Rodney a lot of credit. When you pass up a name like Cy Young in appearances, I mean, you got to go home. He had to drove away home from the baseball park last night, or went to his hotel room last night, and just looking up thinking, man, what a life I've led.
Yeah.
Pass up Cy Young. That's crazy.
Anytime in the baseball realm, if you get to pass up a big name like a Babe Ruth or a Cy Young or a Nolan Ryan or anybody to that nature, you you're living life on the good path.
Yeah.
So big shout out to him. I hope they do bad because Twins are in the same division as the Kansas City Royals, and they're currently 14-6 or 13-7 or something like that, leading the way in the AL Central. So they can lose about 10, 12 games in a row right now. That'd be awesome. but it is what it is. But Marcus, let's just get right into the NFL draft. It is what now 2 days away. Today's Tuesday afternoon. When people are listening to this, it's about 6 p.m. on the East Coast time. And yesterday, you threw out a name, Frank Clark from Seattle Seahawks. Him and the Kansas City Chiefs were in talks. I hadn't heard really a lot about that, until you brought it up. You hit the nail on the head, and that deal got closed today. How do you think this affects the draft now, for one, and does it really help the Kansas City Chiefs? Is this better than the 27th overall pick?
Yeah, they have the 29th overall pick, but yes. Pick. Yeah, absolutely. It's what we talked about yesterday. I mean, you have to ask yourself, is Ford better than oh my God, excuse me. I'm thinking of D4 for Kansas City.
Frank Clark.
Anyways, is Frank Clark better than the 29th overall pick? Absolutely he is. And then you lost D Ford. The Kansas City Chiefs lost D Ford in free agency. And so, that there's a big need there. Kansas City can't, and we talked about this. Absolutely. Can Patrick Mahomes and those guys put up 30 and 9?
All right, guys. Looks like we lost a little bit of connection with Marcus here.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now you're back again.
You have to put pressure on the other team's opposing quarterback. And Frank Clark is a big step in that direction. The Kansas City Chiefs, from what I hear, think he's even better than D Ford. We'll find out. Very quickly here. You signed Emmanuel Ogbah, and so we'll see what happens there. But Chiefs had to make this move because I think if they don't make this move, I think, with the 29th pick is a good pick. Every pick is, a premium pick. Even third rounders are good picks.
Yes.
But it's a first round pick, so it's a big deal. I actually think that other teams like a Dave Gettleman, Mike Mayock, Gettleman for the Giants, Mayock for the Raiders would have jumped in there. And if Frank Clark's on the trading block there, they might have jumped in ahead of the Chiefs to try to make a deal. And they had better picks than the Chiefs.
Yep.
You brought that up to me. Yeah, the Raiders could give the 24th pick. The Chiefs can give the 29th pick. I'd rather have the 24th pick. You know what I mean? So the Chiefs had to get this deal done ASAP before other teams jumped in, and they did it. They did their due diligence. I think they give up a second next year, which is fine for a player like a Frank Clark.
Yes.
If he performs. And they swapped third rounders this year. So, yeah, absolutely. Frank Clark to the Chiefs. I think Chiefs fans got to be on cloud nine. You found your replacement. You have found your replacements for Houston and D Ford and Ogbah and Frank Clark. So you got to be thrilled with that. It's not like they're going to be so much more productive than Houston and Ford. But you talked about the injuries with Ford and Houston, how they're never on the same day.
Right.
So just getting Ogbah and Frank Clark for at least 14 out of the 16 games next year would be a big deal, a step in the right direction. Gun to my head, I don't think at Justin Houston's finest and D Ford's finest that Frank Clark and Ogbah are better than those two, but they're right there. And if you can get them healthy, that's half the battle. You don't make the club in the tub, as they say in training camp.
Yes.
So just to have those two on the field, young players, Ogbah and Frank Clark together, pass rushing for the Chiefs, is going to do wonders for them. And I think it'll put them somewhere in that middle of the pack defense. When you have a Mahomes, and a Tyreek Hill, and that combination with the tight end there, you just have to really be in the middle of the pack defensively. You don't have to be a top 8 defense. You got to stay around that 15-16 range, because without Ogbah and without Frank Clark, you're in that 20-something range. You don't want to live there, because then it puts a lot of pressure on Mahomes to put up 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. He can do it, but you'd rather have your defense in the middle of the pack, and getting Frank Clark puts Kansas City Chiefs in the right direction.
Yeah, and like I want you to refer to what you said earlier. Chiefs fans should be on cloud nine. We should, but me as a Chiefs fan, I am breathing a sigh of relief because after the show, I got a Twitter update saying that the Colts, Raiders, and Ravens were all interested in Frank Clark as well. And history shows me when other teams start expressing more interest, the Chiefs seem to clam up a little bit and they don't dot they don't dot their I's and don't cross the T's. So I was really nervous, and then I got off work and I received a text message from a good friend Matt, and I was like, ooh, finally. Just a big sigh of relief. And so this defense is starting to look a little bit more positive, and then I look at the what free agents are still out there, what big free agents names are still out there, and do not be surprised if Justin Houston tries to come back to Kansas City Chiefs. He's still out there, hasn't been signed yet. Dominic and Sue hasn't been signed yet. And even Eric Berry hasn't been signed yet either. So these are three fairly young players. I mean, Dominic Sue I think is 35, but I think he has a couple good years left in him if he can stay healthy. But Eric Berry is 30 and Justin Houston is only 31 as well. So do not be surprised if those three guys are possibly in a Kansas City Chiefs training camp uniform.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs, if you're the general manager and you're Justin Houston and you're like, hey, I don't want to retire yet, and you've made Kansas City your home, what better place to come back to? Just sign for the veterans minimum,
right?
And then you can mentor Frank Clark and Agba, and you can show them how the Chiefs do things. That's possible. Ndamukong Suh is also out there as well. I think that there's something. The reason Ndamukong Suh hasn't been signed yet is because if you sign him before the draft, I think there's some kind of stipulation where you have to give the Rams a 7th round or 6th round pick. Okay. And not that Ndamukong Suh is not worth that. I wouldn't want to be in the business. I might need that pick for a trade pay.
Right.
So I wouldn't be in the business of trading a 6th or 7th round when I can get Ndamukong Suh for nothing for just a veterans minimum. I don't want to give up a 6th round pick. So look for teams like the Chiefs, like the Texans,
right,
to go after Ndamukong Suh after the draft when they don't have to give up a 6th or 7th round pick to the Rams.
And I misspoke on his age. He's only 32, not 36. I wrote down that note's wrong. I had to go back and fact check because that didn't seem right because he's only been in the league for 7 or 8 years, and he hasn't missed a start in 7 years. So just keep that in mind. He's very, very durable as well.
And then just looking at it from the Seattle Seahawks side, if I'm one of their fans, I'm a little I'm happy about the Russell Wilson thing, great, but I didn't want to give up a player like a Frank Clark. Yes, you get the 29th pick. The only reason I'm a little bit happy, if I'm a Seattle fan, is this is a defensive-heavy draft.
Yeah.
So they have the 21st and 29th selections. If they see a can't-miss prospect, you can take 29 and 21 and move up to 15. That's possible. Or you can just stand pat at 21 and 29 from the Seahawks perspective that I'm talking about, 21 and 29, and you can get two good defensive players there, maybe a Cleon Farrell from Clemson, a Burns from Florida State. Or if you see one of those players, you can, like I said, you can package the picks and move up and get that player to replace Frank Clark. So having 2 picks in the first round is some flexibility for the Seattle Seahawks. One thing I'm a little bit upset about though is you got to be careful. You got to pay Russell Wilson all this money, and you couldn't hold on to Frank Clark. Sometimes that can be bad business if you don't hit on these draft picks. To give up a player like Frank Clark, it hurts. It makes Russell Wilson now have to score more points because Frank Clark is not giving you his 32 sacks in 3 years. That's the production he gave. So if you don't find that with the 21st or 29th pick or a free agent, it hurts your team. And so you look at it from the cap standpoint. The total money given to Russell Wilson, $168 million. The total money given to Frank Clark's like $105 million. Add that up, it's $273 million. If you were to tell a Seattle Seahawks owner or general manager that you'd have to give $273 million over a 4 or 5 year span to 2 players, I don't think they'd want to do it. And that's why Frank Clark was moved.
Yeah, and just to add to your point there, this is such a defense of heavy draft. So if the Seahawks have a guy circled like, hey, this is our guy, I don't know, take a Sweat. And since this is such a defensive of heavy draft, teams are going to be moving up to get offensive players because offensive players always go off the board first for some reason. Like the top 10 picks, you will get more offensive players than not. So like if a team has an offensive need, they're going to probably try to jump up in that top 10 pick there, and that is positive for the Seattle Seahawks or any team that's looking for a good defensive player, especially a defensive edge pass rusher, because those seem to be a premium right here in the first round. I think there are what 10 of them that are projected to go in the first round. So that right there is very, very positive for the Seahawks and the Seattle Seahawks fan base. But this is a question that I wanted to ask you last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, when Russell Wilson did sign that big deal. Would you rather have a quarterback with a big deal with just mediocre talent around him, or do you want a mediocre quarterback, air quotes, or talent around him? Like, as a team owner, as a GM, what would you rather have?
That's a real tough question because I'd have to know the players involved. I understand what you're saying. Just that's a tough situation because I'd have to know the players and what it's kind of like a question of either or. I don't know if I want to go either or. I got to know who I'm working with and what names I'm working with. Just to go to your Chiefs real quick, in that regard, the Chiefs have a window of opportunity here with Mahomes not getting the $170 million. They've got another 3 years with Mahomes. Yep. If they're going to pick up his fifth-year option in next year, I believe. I mean, that's a no-brainer there. He'd only count not even $10 million against the cap or something. Which if when they sign him to that big deal, he's going to be $30-something million against the cap. The Chiefs have a window here, opportunity in the next 3 years to win a championship. You can pay Frank Clark that big money.
Yes.
Frank Clark's going to get his money that first 3 years. You have a window of opportunity here to win a championship when you don't have your quarterback in that $150 million range, $130 million range. So the Chiefs are in prime position right now to do what you were talking about the question you just asked me, to pay a quarterback. But this is no mediocre quarterback.
Right.
That's what's on the Chiefs side. You've got a top 5 quarterback making, he's probably in the bottom half of the money, even though he was a high first-round pick. It's not like Mahomes can't afford extra value meals here. I mean, he's getting a lot of money, but you have an opportunity here to win a championship and not paying your quarterback the $150 million. The Chiefs are in prime position here to win. And hell, if it wasn't for Dee Ford lining up off sides, the Chiefs are playing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they're playing the Rams, and it would be that rematch of Monday night. That's what everybody wanted to see. Instead, we got good old Tom Brady and good old Bill Belichick again.
Right.
So if I was a Chiefs fan, I'd be so mad at Dee Ford still to this day. He'd be like I'm the dartboard every day when I got home. Dee Ford.
I'm upset at that referee because like any other referee, any other point of like any other game that they would say, hey man, you're offside, scoot back a little bit. But he didn't say one word. I mean. Yeah,
you know what? I'm gonna halfway agree with you. I would tell high school kids and college kids I'd give them more leeway.
They say,
but you're in the NFL. Yeah, you're in the NFL though. You're Dee Ford. You cannot line up off sides.
You're right.
But to your point, here's where I'm gonna agree with you 100%. Is this is a championship game? Okay, my flag is not gonna decide the game.
It did.
It did, and that's the decision the ref made there. I would have told Dee Ford. I would have given Dee Ford, since it was a championship game, a little more leeway because I don't want my flag to decide the championship game. I want the players to decide it on the field, and that didn't happen. So that ref's got to think about that. Even though he made the right call, his judgment, I don't like his judgment. If this was week 14, I'll be honest with you, and that also can decide playoff seeding.
Yeah,
I probably would have thrown the flag. But this is for everything. I would have told Dee Ford, hey, one more, and you're getting it. Keep telling him because, like I said, and I'm going to reiterate it. I wouldn't want that ref's flag, and yes, it was Dee Ford's fault, but that ref's flag decided the championship game. I don't know if I could live with myself if I was a ref doing that.
Well, just to defend that referee, because like there are two sides of the coin. If he was only like a hand offsides or like the tip of his helmet like offsides, but he was a full body and a half offsides. Like he wasn't even remotely close to being like just like onside. So like and I do applaud the ref for throwing the flag and having the guts of throwing the flag, because we see so many times that the flags get tucked into like the last minute. People are afraid to call fouls like if there's fouls. So I definitely applaud him for doing that, of course. And so
that's why if I was a Chiefs fan, I'd had my D4 picture and my darts at it.
Yeah, but I'm still mad that he is not a Kansas City Chief though. So don't get that twisted. Like I still think he's a good guy.
Well, that's why today was important, because you found his replacement, and he can just put on 55. You can just pretend he's D4. He's gonna wear 55. Just pretend it says Ford instead of Clark.
We are just gonna be like Penn State and not put the names on the back. Just keep the numbers. Go. Put a little shield on them. We'll never know. But but like, you are hitting on a very sensitive subject for me right here, where the Kansas City Chiefs are in this 3-year plateau here to either win a championship or it's kind of shit or get off the pot time. Yes. Because we are facing an issue that the Seattle Seahawks faced when they had all those great players when they made those Super Bowl runs, and then they started asking for cash. And you can't pay everybody because think about it. In a couple years, you're gonna have to pay Tyreek Hill. You're gonna have to pay Travis Kelce. You're gonna have to pay Patrick, and you're gonna have to pay probably the Honey Badger as well. Like if he's still doing his thing.
Well, they gave him a big deal, so I don't even worry about him.
Well, but then you're gonna have to add another defensive star on there somewhere, more than likely. Right. And there's not enough bread to go around. So you are hitting the nail on the head 100% here, that we have a 3 to 4 year time frame to win a couple Super Bowls, because after that, people are going to want their money. We're going to have a Richard Sherman issue, or a like, hey, give me my money, or like I want out, and like now it would tear me to see Tyreek Hill on a Oakland Raider jersey. Like that would haunt me till the day I die.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think you've got a 3-year window opportunity here for the Kansas City Chiefs to win a Super Bowl. And if you want to say back to back and all that, hey, that's fine with me. I mean,
I'd be happy with one.
Yeah, just get one. And then, like on that note, in terms of, extending rookie contracts that the Cowboys picked up, I think they're going to pick up their option on Zeke Elliott for his 5th-year option. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And don't get it twisted that the Cowboys are going to have to go into these big-time negotiations too. They got Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and Zeke Elliott. Don't be surprised if Amari gets his money, Dak gets his money, and Zeke does not get his money.
Yeah, they proved that when last tailback they had that went to the Titans, DeMarcus
Murray.
Yeah. So,
Murray.
Yeah, because let's be honest, tailbacks are a dime a dozen in this league.
Absolutely.
You basically eat them up and chew them out. That's why Le'Veon Bell did what he did. He sat out a year. He wanted he wanted his money because he knows he's done in 2 years. I mean, whether you want to face it or not, the average lifespan of a tailback is 2 to 3 years less than the average player of any other player on a NFL team, just because of the wear and tear of their bodies carrying the ball, that kind of thing. So I definitely agree with you. Dak and like Amari will definitely get their money before Zeke does. I wouldn't be this is Zeke's 3rd year. I wouldn't be surprised in next year's draft or the year after that they are looking for his replacement in the draft.
Yeah, this is Zeke's 4th year coming up, and they're going to pick up his 5th year option. So you got 2 more years with Ezekiel Elliott. So that's probably going to be a big time contract negotiations there. And absolutely, you're always looking for running backs.
Yes.
Actually, the Texans and the Cowboys were looking to get Pride Duke Johnson off of Cleveland, and that's a possibility as well, because Cleveland is stacked at running back right now, especially when they get Kareem Hunt in Week 9.
Right.
I mean, Duke Johnson's a little expendable, and Duke Johnson would look good in a Cowboy uniform or a Texan uniform. they both need backup running backs, the Texans and the Cowboys. So
yeah, and just to add to your point there, running backs don't get a lot of money either because it has become a two-headed monster
yes,
system, and it's hard to pay money for two tailbacks. Look at the Rams, what they did last year. C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley. So you know, C.J. Anderson took the load during the Cowboys playoff game, so Todd could show up the next game. And
yeah, C.J. Anderson's still getting first downs.
Yeah,
he just destroyed Dallas. Yeah.
On the bright side, he is now with the Detroit Lions, so I don't have to worry about that too much anymore. So we're going to take a quick break here, Marcus, and then we're going to get right back into the draft. We got a lot of things to discuss about the draft with being just a couple days. Guys, we will be right back after these messages from somebody. I don't know who they are, but you'll enjoy it. We'll be right back. Alrighty. Gotcha. All right, guys, welcome back to the Marcus and Mike Show. Like I said, I am Mike. The man to my left is Marcus. If you guys are not following Marcus the Freak on the Twitter machines, description or the details are in the description below if you're watching us on YouTube. I'm at mbuck41. Marcus is at Marcus the Freak. Follow us on Twitter. Interact with us. If you have any draft questions, direct them towards Marcus. He's a very knowledgeable guy in the draft. This is his Christmas. This is his Hanukkah, his Kwanzaa, Christmas, and New Year's all in 1 week. And
it lasts for 3 days. It's like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's wonderful.
And then Sunday, he is going to be so hungover from all the excitement that that he will TiVo the draft and replay it over and over and over.
I actually do watch. I do watch the Texans and the Cowboys drafts again just to make sure I didn't miss anything. I always do. I always DVR it. So yeah.
There you go. So Marcus. Before we get into you guys, if you're listening to us on the YouTube, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button with the bell icon. We do upload content almost every day, usually at 6 p.m. Eastern time is when it premieres. iHeartRadio, iTunes, etc. Go ahead and leave a follow and a comment and a ranking as well. We do have a contest going right now from now until May 5th. If you leave a ranking and a comment on the iTunes, you have a chance to win $100 through Taco City, a great taco place here in Sellersburg, Indiana. It's pretty good. It's authentic Mexican by white folks, so I'm not sure how authentic that really is, but it is really good. So Marcus, I want to get right back into the draft here. I got a report on my phone right before we came on the show here that the Redskins are entertaining a trade with the Jets to move up in the draft. Redskins are currently sitting at the 15th pick, and they're looking to jump up to that 3 spot. If this happens, what do you think the Redskins are going to do with that pick? Are they looking for a quarterback? They're looking for a defensive side of the ball. What do you think they're going to do with that number 3 pick if they get it?
Well, that's the first I've heard of it, and that right there. When you move up, you're moving up. You're not moving up for a defensive tackle. You are moving up for a quarterback. So
yep.
I would definitely assume the Redskins are getting ahead of everybody to take Dwayne Haskins. That would be the obvious move there to get to number 3 to the Jets pick. If you're the Jets, I'm not sure why you do this unless you're getting a next year's number 1, because there are 4 premium players in this draft defensively, and I think maybe even 5, because I'm going to add Ed Oliver into that 5th best player of this draft. I don't know why, if you like everything you've seen from Josh Allen and Quinton Williams or Nick Bosa, you stand there at the Jets pick at 3, and you're going to get one of those 3 players, one of those 4 players. So I don't understand why you would entertain that thing. That I wouldn't. Unless I was getting a next year's number 1. But if my scouts told me on tape that Josh Allen is the real deal and Quinnen Williams is awesome, and I'm getting one of those players. Bosa's probably going to go too, and then hell, if Bosa falls to me at 3, then there's no way that I would move back to 15. That's too far to move back. I understand that there are good players in this draft, defensive players, but to get one of these top 4 premium draft defensive players, and to go to 15, I am not willing to do that unless I get a next year's number 1. I'm not sure what the stipulations are on that would be on that trade, but there's no way I'm moving unless I'm getting a next year's number 1. So I don't know why the Jets would entertain that. I know from the Redskins' perspective why they would do it, because Dwayne Haskins is the real deal. To move into the 3rd spot and make sure they get Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, the only thing I could really see that would be positive for the Jets is if they're getting that 15th pick in their 2nd round pick as well. I'm not for sure where the Redskins are picking at in the 2nd round. Let me take a look here. They're picking 14th.
40.
So they're picking 46th in the
46. Yeah.
So I mean, a first and just like we've been hitting on, this is a defensive side of the ball premium draft, and if the Jets think they can still get a good defensive player at that 15th spot, why not move down and pad your picks? Because there are 10 defensive players that are ranked in the top 15 or higher. The other 4 are. The other 3 are quarterbacks, and you have a tight end as well that are currently projected in the top 15 picks here. So if you think you can get a Sweat, maybe he drops down. Maybe somebody like a Ed Oliver, he bumps down. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% Michael. There's a Christian Wilkins. Rashawn Gary. There's a number of players that could be there at 15, but I don't think they're as good as, my point is, I don't think they're as good as Josh Allen, Quinnen Williams, or Nick Bosa. And that's who the Jets would guarantee them getting at the 3rd overall selection. So I think a next year's number 1 would be in play here.
I mean, they may not be as good as those guys, but they might be a step down.
Right.
But if you add 2 of those guys versus just 1, that adds depth to your team, and you have 2 guys that are just a step down that are on the field consistently when Josh Allen has to take a break every 10 plays. So
I get it. I just want a next year's number 1, so we'll see what happens on that thing.
Yeah, and I definitely see what you're saying, and then I was following some boards here. This is a NFL UK thing. There's a lot of New York Jet fans in the UK, which is kind of surprising to me. But hey, you guys want to root for losers? Go for it. But they were saying that like they want to draft a quarterback 3rd overall. They want a quarterback. Or they wanted to trade that pick. If you are the Jets, you said their new GM likes the defensive side of the ball, edge pass rushers, etc. If you are the Jets GM with that 3rd pick, do you look to trade that pick at all, or are you satisfied with getting Josh Allen or somebody else, like one of those top 3 picks? Or do you want to move down?
Listen. When you get a top 3 pick, you don't want to get another top 3 pick. You're looking to always improve your team. There is no way. Leonard Williams from USC, their former 1st round pick from a few years ago, taking on too many double teams. Life is hell for him, and even though he's getting paid a lot of money for the hell, but I got to give him some help. And giving him Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, or Josh Allen, I have to help out my defense. Listen. I'm not too worried about the quarterback situation for the Jets. I think Sam Darnold's the real deal. You just signed Le'Veon Bell. You got a good core of receivers, Robbie Anderson and Aniqua, number 81. I think you're fine offensively. You have a decent offensive line. It's not great, led by Carpenter. You have a decent offensive line. I have to look to help to get my best defensive player, Leonard Williams, out of USC. My former 1st round pick, I just can't leave him out there not getting any help. I have got to take one of these blue chip prospects, and that's going to be either Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, or Josh Allen. I would stay right there at number 3 and go defense.
So we've hit on Kyler Murray every time we've talked to the draft show, And last time we talked, Kyler, I reported that the Cardinals were not interested in taking Kyler Murray at the number 1 overall pick. I thought it was all kind of smoke and mirrors. And then ESPN analyst Todd McShay is saying that he's a 99.9% sure that Kyler Murray is going to the Arizona Cardinals. Are you still a firm believer he is going there?
It's not a move that I would make or you would make or probably even Todd McShay would make. We would stay with Josh Rosen. You don't give up, the 10th pick in the draft from last year, who would be the best quarterback in this year's draft. You don't give up on him, but they're going to do it. Kyler Murray will go number 1 to the Cardinals, and at that point in the draft, wheels are spinning because now Josh Rosen is on trade block, and if I'm Josh Rosen's representation, his dad, I am very upset. You're just using my son. You need to tell me that you want to trade us. We need to start getting the ball rolling with our agents and with our things. It's what teams we can go to and start setting up negotiations. I don't want my son or you know what I mean? If Josh Rosen was your brother, Michael, this you'd be upset. Like, they're just going to bring in this new guy. They didn't even give me a chance last year. Like, they gave me a team that was in flux. It's not a very good offensive line. And so now I need to be traded to the best position possible. And so now I'm looking at replacing Phillip Rivers with the Chargers. Or I'm looking at starting right away and beating out Case Keenum, because I'm Josh Rosen now. I'm going to beat out Case Keenum with the Redskins. You need to trade me to the Redskins, with that 15th overall pick or something. I've got to be traded, and you're just using me. And Josh Rosen, that's going to be awesome, because Josh Rosen needs to get traded on draft night or even before. If we know, like, 48 hours before the draft that Kyler Murray's going to be the number 1 pick, everybody's got to get on the phone that needs a quarterback. The Giants, not with the 6th pick, but with the 17th pick. Washington with the 15th pick. The Chargers with the 28th pick. Everybody's got to – hey, New England with the 32nd pick. Everybody who needs a quarterback to replace one of their legends needs to get in that Josh Rosen sweepstakes ASAP. And so if I'm Josh Rosen, I got to go to one of those teams.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think he is worth a late first-round pick as well. So a perfect landing spot would be the Patriots. What better way to start your career than to restart your career by sitting behind Tom Brady for a year, maybe 2. I'm not for sure how much Tom Brady has left in the tank. Learn from him, learn the game, and just, quite frankly, be the best quarterback you can be, because Tom Brady came from he wasn't very good, let's be honest, to one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league. If I'm Josh Rosen right now, teams I do not want to go to. I do not want to go to the Redskins at all. They are in flux, and they are looking for a savior. So, like, all the pressure is going to be on me 100%.
Right.
You can another great landing spot would possibly be the Giants as well. I think Eli would teach him how to be a professional as well. I don't see a lot of Eli in the media or like in interviews, so like I don't know quite how his personality is on or off the field. But I feel like he would be a great person to learn behind, because he does have an older brother that seems to be around the Giants stadium a lot. I do see him and Peyton together a lot around the New York Giants facility. Right. And then you got to look at teams that, maybe might surprise you a little bit. What about the Green Bay Packers? What if he went to Green Bay, sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 or 4 years, and they did and then Drew Rosen did what Aaron Rodgers did to Favre, pick his brain a little bit, sit there and immature. That would be another great landing spot for him as well.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I understand what you're saying about the Redskins. Nobody knows more about the dysfunction of the Washington Redskins than I do. They're a completely dysfunctional organization. But if I'm Josh Rosen, I want to go someplace where I can start and I can play within a year. I don't want to go to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers could play till he's 40.
Right.
And you're not going to sit. I'm not going to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. I'd rather go to the Bengals. I'd rather with the 11th. They can trade the 11th pick and Cincinnati Bengals, and I'd beat out Andy Dalton.
Okay.
I'd rather do that than go to Aaron Rodgers. The perfect landing spot to me, if you want to play right away, is either the Giants or the Redskins with the 17th or the 15th selection. And then Phillip Rivers also is not bad either. I mean, Phillip Rivers is not going to play. He doesn't have too many more years left in the tank to play for them. That would be fun to go to San Diego if I'm Josh Rosen.
Right.
So I want to go where I can play, not just mainly about stability and organization. I want to go – if the Redskins said, hey, you're our guy, you just go beat out Case Keenum. I have full confidence if I'm Josh Rosen that I make better throws than Case Keenum, and I will be the starting quarterback for the Washington Redskins week 1. I want to play. I just don't want to sit there and drink water. Okay. I'm Josh Rosen, man. Yeah. I can make all the throws.
I was going to ask you that. Like, if you are Josh, do you want to start now, or do you want to sit a year, collect your thoughts, let the water settle like around you, and then jump in?
It depends on who I'm behind.
Right.
You tell me I'm going to sit behind Case Keenum. No, I'm not. You tell me I'm going to sit behind Andy Dalton. No, I'm not. I'm going to beat those guys out.
There you go.
I will sit behind Phillip Rivers. I will sit behind Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady for a year. Yeah.
Best case scenario, my thoughts just slipped my mind here. If you are a team needing a quarterback, and like you've been on record saying this, that if Josh Rosen was in this draft, he'd be the first quarterback off the board. So if you are the Jets, sitting, early second round, do you possibly try to move back, get a couple picks in the later first round from, I don't know, Oakland or Seattle or like Washington, and then make a trade for Drew, and then try to get a defense player in the early first round the mid first round as well?
No, I have no interest. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm a Jets. I have no interest in Josh Rosen. I got my quarterback Sam Darnold, who I think is better than Josh Rosen.
Okay.
Because I passed on Josh Rosen last year, and I took Sam Darnold. So there's no way. No, you're the Jets. You stay right there at 3. You don't fool around, and you're in a great position if you're the Jets, because Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, or Josh Allen are going to fall right into your lap. Anybody could make this pick for the Jets. So it's a prime position to be in if you're the Jets.
So how the Jets fail this draft is if they trade away that 3rd overall pick, right?
Yes, unless they're getting a next year's number 1, but I don't even know if I'd be doing anything. And like if somebody wants to come up and get Dwayne Haskins or Drew Lock, I think it'd be more for Dwayne Haskins though. I would entertain it. They'd have to give me a next year's number 1. If next year's number 1 is not on the table and you're just going to give me a 2nd-round pick and your pick, no, I'm staying at 3.
Okay, you guys heard it here first. We're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side of the break, we're going to dive into the NBA playoffs like a little bit. Have a few games happening tonight. We'll make some picks, some thoughts, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Marcus and Mike show. Marcus is over there flashing his bling the Houston Astro championship ring. I would have my 2015 Royals flag hanging in the back here, but it's been raining so bad and this area leaks real bad. I don't want to get it all nasty, but I'll get it up next week, maybe. We're making a comeback. 85 to 2015 is 31 years, so we'll be back in 2047. Next championship for the Kansas City Royals. So, Marcus, we did have a couple games last night. As I predicted, the Milwaukee Bucks did sweep the Pistons 127 to 104. Blake Griffin did play last night, but it was clear that he was not himself.
Yeah,
he was on one knee. Looked pretty bad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then you had the Utah Jazz saving face, beating the Houston Rockets 107 to 91. Let me touch on that game like a tad bit. Donovan Mitchell finally showed up. You called him out a little bit on yesterday's show, saying, "Hey man, this is your team. Show up." He showed up. He had a pretty good game. What are your thoughts on this series now? Does Utah have any chance at all? Just for the record, teams are 0-132 when down 3-0.
Right. And they're 0 and yeah, nobody has ever come back for an 0 and 3, right? Like
Right.
that's yeah.
Except for in hockey.
I predicted Houston in 7. And I was really disappointed in the way the Jazz just played. I mean, they just got throttled in the first 2 games. They finally showed up. Donovan Mitchell finally showed up. He pulled it. Dwayne Wade had 19 points in the young D Wade. He
Right.
had 19 points in the fourth quarter. Harden had 8 turnovers. That was also part of the problem of Houston last night. I don't expect this to go any further now. Houston will wrap it up in 5. Utah played, a little more determined, and they didn't like you mentioned. They saved face. They didn't want to be their last home game for their fans with a losing effort. So yeah, I mean Houston should get this thing in 5. No problem here. Utah did a decent job on James Harden. I think Royce O'Neal from Baylor did an okay job on him last night. And then I don't know what Harden finished, but we talked about this before. We called it. Utah. We didn't think Harden was going to shoot well in Utah, and I think he went something like 11 for 31 in his 2 games in Utah.
It was
like
pretty
30%.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And so the fact that Harden can go 11 for 30 or whatever, 11 for 31 in the 2 games, right? You would think that Utah would have tied it up. That's what I thought it would be 2-2. But so Houston's very fortunate when Harden shoots 30% from the field in the 2 games combined, they still got a game there.
Yeah, and
so that was very fortunate for Houston. So yeah, Houston should wrap this thing up in 5.
Yeah, and just to add to your point there, the only reason why he is shooting 30% at Utah is because he shot 50% last night from the field and the 3-point line. So that boosted his percentage up like a tad bit there.
Yeah.
And he did finish with 30 points and made it to the foul line 8 times. So he's been way under his foul percentage or his foul line shots through the games here.
He had a lot of turnovers, but doomed them last night.
Yeah. He kind of a sloppy game.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think Houston closes it out in 5 on Wednesday night here. So let's go ahead and move on to tonight's game. First game, quickly touch on this. I think I know where you're going to go with this. You have Raptors at the Magic. Who do you got?
Done deal. Raptors in a 20-point victory.
20 points.
This one should have been over. I predicted Raptors in a sweep. The fact that it went 5 is a little surprising. So yeah, this one's done deal. They won't even play all that. Kawhi Leonard won't even have to, break a sweat. He'll play 25 minutes and get 22 points.
Yeah, and just like what you said last show, the only thing I'm worried about here is if somebody gets a sprained ankle. If Kyle Lowry uses all of his good playoff games in this one game, you might as well just sit him on the bench and just save him for next series. Maybe he'll have a little mojo moving forward here.
Right.
One of the most intriguing games tonight that I definitely want to watch is the Nets and 76ers. Philly is an 8.5 point favorite, leading series 3-1. Who do you got winning this game?
Yeah, I have the 76ers winning this game. If Embiid plays and he's a monster, there's no way. I don't think the Nets win.
Right.
Even the Nets lost a game even when Embiid didn't play. And that was a little surprising to me. But Tobias Harris and those guys, they're really talented. So that's why they lost that one. I don't expect the Nets to go out here like losing by 20 points. I think that LeVert and Russell have some pride, and Dinwiddie. They've got some pride here. And I think this will be a close game. I mean, you're talking about this is one shot away from being 2-2.
Yes.
This has been a highly contested series. I don't care what anybody says. If Mike Scott... Embiid was fumbling around game 4, found Mike Scott in the corner, the worst player on the court for the 76ers, and he nailed a 3. And then, the 76ers won. So, yeah, this is going to be a highly contested game tonight. I see the 76ers pulling away, though, and winning this in 5.
Yeah, and just to hit on your Joel Embiid point here, the Philly is up 3-1. They do have 3 games to win 1 game, like what it comes down to. So, if I'm Philly right now, I would sit Joel Embiid to make sure he is healthy for the semifinals, because we have shown as in Philly that they could beat the Nets without Joel. And if he's not 100%, I need him to be 100% for the next round when we play the Raptors. That's a lot more important than this Game 5 win. We have Game 6 and Game 7 still to win this series, and basically more time for him to heal. I wouldn't play him for the rest of the series. I just don't think the Nets have enough to.
That's a little dangerous. You're playing with fire there. I understand the logic because I wanted to sit out Giannis Antetokounmpo last night.
Yeah.
Because I still think they would have beat the Pistons last night. But you're playing with fire. The Nets are not the Pistons, and the Nets are not the Magic. They actually have players that can get up and down the court and score at will. So I would play Embiid if he was a little healthy here. Maybe limit his minutes a little bit. But you don't want to fool around with the Nets. Like I said, This is a shot away from being – Mike Scott misses that shot, it's 2-2.
Yeah, I mean –
in other words, you don't fool around with the Nets. You sit out Embiid – and the Nets could win this game, and now you find yourself in a long series.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying, but you are also saying that the Nets can go and beat the Sixers 3 games to 0, and I don't think that's going to happen, even if they have Joel Embiid in there or not. So I would put him on a time restraint, like, hey, you're on play in 20 minutes. Just to make sure he's healthy for the Raptors, which he won't be healthy. He is never healthy, but healthier. Just a little side note here. This is the first time since 99 through 2001 if Philly makes it to the semifinals that they made it to the semifinals back-to-back years. And that team had Larry Brown as a coach and Allen Iverson as the point guard. So it's almost been 18 years since they made it to back-to-back semifinal games.
Wow.
So just kind of food for thought there. Next game up on the docket, your San Antonio Spurs take on the Denver Nuggets here. What's your thoughts on this one?
I'm a little nervous about this one. I think San Antonio has been the better team throughout the series. The second half of Game 4 was absolutely amazing. It was flawless basketball played by the Denver Nuggets. I don't think that they have another game in them like that. I mean, they possibly could if this thing goes 7, which is a little scary, but I don't think it comes tonight. Everybody, their backups played well against the Spurs. Their backups were hitting threes. And so I think the Spurs come through tonight. Spurs have to play with pace and tempo. They can't get out and start running with the Nuggets. Nuggets run to the three-point line, run to layups, and they can't get in that kind of game with the Nuggets. The Spurs got to keep at their tempo, get LaMarcus Aldridge involved, DeRozan going, and please, Marco Bellinelli, Patty Mills, Bertans, they have to shoot from the Bryn Forbes. They have to shoot the 3-ball really well tonight. And this game comes down to Rudy Gay, too. I mean, Rudy Gay has been abysmal. He's been battling in there with rebounds, and so he's trying. But his shot has been terrible. I've never seen Rudy Gay off like this in all the years I've covered Rudy Gay, going back to UConn. I'll be honest, I have never seen this before. And so I don't know what's going on with his shot or whatever, but if Rudy Gay – I'll make a prediction. If Rudy Gay gets you 20 points tonight, Spurs win. Because I think the shots will fall, and I think Denver's backups won't play as well tonight. That's hopefully – because it's like a law of averages. I mean, Craig is not going to go 5 of 6 from the three-point line again. Beasley's not going to hit all these threes again. Monte Morris, these guys are the backups. Will Barton has been horrible the whole series. Then Game 4, he decides to show up. I think Will Barton goes on another disappearing performance. So I think Spurs get this one in a close one. The Spurs, if they lose this series, they're going to be kicking themselves because they had a chance to go up 2-0.
Yes.
They had a 19-point lead in the third quarter in Denver, and they lost that game.
Right.
If they were to go on to lose this series, that 19-point blown lead, they were up 78-59 in Game 2 and in Denver. If they had gone up 2-0 on Denver, this series would be over.
Yeah.
So they'll go back and kick themselves, the Spurs, if they lose this series. But I think they win a close one tonight.
Yeah, and I've been going back and forth on this game a lot. There's so much that I TiVo all the playoff games, and I rewatched Game 1 and Game 3. The Denver Nuggets have grown up so much from Game 1 to Game 3, or to Game 5 that it is almost a full season of basketball, all just like almost. I've been saying, hey, they need to learn how to win. They need to learn how to win. They need to be here. They need to mature. And this series, you can see that they have matured. If you watch Game 1, they're pretty sloppy. They aren't hustling the way they should. The playoff basketball is just not hitting them the way normal playoff basketball should. And if you look at Game 4, they showed up. They're hustling. They are winning the gritty points, meaning like they're jumping on the court to retrieve a ball. They're tying people up. Gary Harris is playing great defense. And with all that being said, I don't know if they have grown up enough. The Spurs have still been there. They've done that. They have a coach that's been there, done that time after time after time. And Game 5 is basically the Game 7 of the series. This will matter in the series. Whoever wins this game will win the series. And I think San Antonio goes into Denver tonight and beats them. It is a 5-point game. I think it's going to be under that. It's going to be a 1 or 2 point game in the end. It's going to be a very, very tight game. I want Rudy Gay to do well. I just don't see that happening tonight. He is in some type of slump. He needs to go home and have some mama's fried chicken or something. He needs a few days off to go find his shot. He needs to go back to his hometown, play some straight ball, get punched in the mouth, or he needs to do something. But I just don't see that happening tonight. I think DeMar is going to carry the team tonight, 30-plus points.
Yeah, no, I mean, DeMar's been – the thing about DeMar and LaMarcus is they haven't been great, but they haven't been bad. So both these players are all NBA players. They're top 15. They're in that 11 to 15 range, DeMar and LaMarcus. But they haven't been, hey, put the team on the back type of guys. But They haven't been bad at all. They've shown up. DeMar and LaMarcus have shown up every game and played well. So they've been like their regular season. So that's why it's incumbent upon Derek White and Rudy Gay to step up and the three-point shooters to start hitting some shots. I'm not blaming DeMar and LaMarcus on this series at all. But I think Rudy Gay is going to find his touch tonight. I think he's been stewing over it. They've been talking about it in the paper. He hasn't been very receptive to the media, and rightfully so. I think he's stewing over there. And I would not be shocked at all if Rudy Gay came out with a 20-point game tonight, and the old Rudy showed up. And that's what the Spurs need.
And as your friend, as your colleague here, I hope he does well, just so you're not crying on the next show.
Oh man!
But moving on to the final game of the night. Another 10:30 start, so I'm not going to watch the game pretty much like it all. I'm totally relying on the paper and highlights. Oklahoma City to Portland Trailblazers. Portland does lead the series 3-1. Does Portland close out tonight at home?
Yes, they do. Portland has been the most complete team in this playoffs. Terry Stotts has turned this thing around. Damian Lillard has learned how to become that leader, that dynamic player. And they know their roles perfectly. And Oklahoma City is playing like the team that finished under 500 their last 25 games down the stretch. They're playing like that team. And also Russell Westbrook and Paul George are not getting timely shooting from other people. Steven Adams has been horrible. He should be getting 20 boards a game. There's nobody really that can stand in Steven Adams' way, especially when Nurkic went down. Steven Adams, this should be his series. Getting 20 boards and 20 points, getting points off putbacks. We talked about that yesterday. Oklahoma City has not been getting shooting from Ferguson and these other guys. They don't have they just don't have it for whatever reason. They're playing like that team that came down the stretch and was losing a lot of games. They happened to win that one game before the regular season ended in Houston, and everybody went crazy, including me. I kind of thought, okay, here we go. OKC finally gonna show some muscle here. You got Paul George and Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
Yeah, Paul George and Russell Westbrook, two top 10 players who are better than LaMarcus and DeRozan. they're going to carry this thing, where they're going to beat Portland. They're bigger and stronger than Lillard and McCollum, and that has not happened. The better team, the more well-rounded team that know their roles. Harkless and Aminu know their roles. Harkless and Aminu know they're not superstars. They know what they have to do. Enes Kanter knows that he's the player that whenever McCollum and Lillard need a bucket down low, they go to Enes Kanter and it's instant buckets. Everybody knows their role. And so this thing's going well. Even Myers Leonard and Collins from Gonzaga, their first-round pick a few years ago, they're balling. And so Terry Stotts, the coach of Portland, has this thing going in the right direction. Perfect team, near perfect team. They'll close out Oklahoma City tonight, and Oklahoma City will have fun. This will be like their third off season in a row, and the second one with Paul George, where they all that talent and they go home in the first round. I think Billy Donovan could be on the hot seat here.
Yeah, and just to add to your points here, if they were to lose this series, this would be the third straight year they have gotten a first-round exit, which is kind of mind-boggling because of all their success, or I guess individual success in the regular season. They've been kind of a mediocre team up and down in the regular season here. But just to add to some points here, every game Oklahoma City has been held underneath 100 points this series. They have lost the game. The one game they were over 100 points. They kind of dominated that game and won 120-108 in a must-win Game 3 situation. So flipping back to tonight, Portland has been the complete team. They have been the best team from point A to point B, even without their star player, which is very eye-raising to me. Like, what if he was in there? What kind of team would they be? Are they going to be a championship team with him in there? I don't think so. I mean, you still have to go through Golden State and Houston or Houston. So they're a solid finals team. Western Conference final, but they're definitely not a championship caliber team yet. But I do not see them closing tonight. I think Oklahoma City has one more little spurt in them, and then they get shut out in Game 6, like absolutely destroyed in Game 6, just because they're so wore out mentally from the season, from going 500, just like what you said, the last 25 games, or sorry, below 500.
Yeah, they were below,
and kind of just getting mentally beat up this series. But I do think they travel to Portland tonight, sneak out a win somehow, some way. Paul George maybe ups his average. He is only averaging 26 points per game this the series. For them to win, he has to have 40 points tonight. Him and Russell have to have 35 plus points each to win tonight, and I think that happens. I think they go out there, they play, they shoot lights out, just to force a Game 6, just to lose at home on Thursday night.
Hey, that's very well possible. I mean, Russell Westbrook has a 35-point game, and he's a monster, and so does Paul George. And they easily could win tonight, and both have monster games. That they don't want to go out like that, go out like some chumps, you know. Right. These are two supreme talented players. I mean, you can start your franchise with these two players. I mean, they're the real deal. So that's why, you know, I predicted them to beat, you know, Portland. They're better than Lillard and McCollum. If you just took those two players against these two players, but the problem is Portland is playing like a complete team, and Oklahoma City is not. And Russell Westbrook, for some reason, is struggling. He needs to get that going. And your prediction tonight, he gets it going tonight for one more game. That's entirely possible.
So let me hit on this real fast. Like there have been teams that come back and have won series down 3-1. If this happens to Portland, if they lose this series, this will be their 9th exit in a row in the first round. Is it time to blow up that team just like the Raptors did like the last year, like with their coaches and whatnot? Is it time to find something new?
Man, that's a heck of a hypothetical there. Probably, yeah. I mean, listen, you cannot blow a 3-1 lead. I don't care if you're playing Russell Westbrook, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant. Yeah. So I don't think that they're going to blow this 3-1 lead. And plus, they get an excuse because Nurkic isn't there. So there's kind of like an excuse there.
What's the excuse for the last 7 years then?
Well, no, I mean, I understand that Terry Stotts has not been a great coach in my opinion, in terms of X's and O's and stuff like that. I mean, he's good, but he's not been great. He's subpar in the playoffs. You just mentioned this would be, they're how many years in a row done in the first round.
Yep.
But I got to give him credit where credit is due. Terry Stotts has got this thing rolling in the right direction. When Nurkic went down, a lot of people thought they were going to go down as well. It'd be, and end up being in the 6th or 7th seed. They did not. They maintained them. They maintained that 3rd seed. I give Stotts. Got to give credit where credit is due. I got to give Stotts his due. And I don't see them up 3-1. I just don't see them at all losing.
Yeah, I don't either. But I do see them winning tonight out of a desperation. Portland kind of folds it up early just to save face.
Right.
It gets kind of ugly toward the end, and then they come back in Game 6 and just whoop butt. But then, I totally want to switch gears on you here. I saw a tweet last night that Luke Walton is being charged with sexual assault from 2016. This irritates me because we've talked about this on a few shows here, and I've gone back many times. Why is this just now coming out? 2016, that's 3 or 4 years ago when this sexual assault allegedly happened. And like now that he is leaving LA to go to the Kings, all of a sudden it is big news. Why do people do this? Why don't they do it when it first allegedly happens? And supposedly it is a group of people that was there. I didn't quite read the article. I just saw the headlines because I didn't want to get myself upset. But I mean, it is news. We are in the sports news industry here. Had to bring it up. Luke Walton is being charged with sexual assault from 2016. So.
No, you're 100% right. Common sense dictates your frustration.
Yeah.
Common sense tells you is your wife sexually assaulted by Luke Walton? Are y'all gonna wait till 2022 and say something?
No, I want to handle it right now, son.
You're gonna nip that in the bud right now. You are going to get down to everything and figure out everything and do all your due diligence to make sure that person gets charged, and it's happening right now. You're not waiting 3 years. Okay, so that's where common sense dictates your frustration.
Yeah.
But I don't know the particulars in this. We got to read a little more on it.
I didn't read it because I knew I was going to get upset about it. I was like, nope, not today. I'm not going down that rabbit hole today, Billy Bob.
Yeah, we'll see the specifics on it, and we'll bring it to light the more stuff comes out. But yeah, that's odd. I mean, when you wait 3 years like that, and if you were really sexually assaulted, I mean, that just sounds crazy. And then
it sounds crazy to the average person like yourself and I to have common sense. But a person that is thinking, this is Luke Walton, in a couple years he's going to be worth a lot of money, and then I'm going to go after him and then get some money. Like, that is what I think with like some of these women think. Now this is going to sound so wrong, and I'm probably going to get backlash for it. But it doesn't matter. Like, I think sometimes these women put themselves in this situation just for this situation to happen a couple years down the road. They want to, they're short on cash, or they want to pad their pockets. They need it. They need a new car. They need a house. So they put this, they record this sexual assault, air quotes there, and then they come back. Oh, did you see what Luke Walton did to me in 2016? Just like that reporter chick with the UFC. She went to an after party and was dancing on the guy, and then got mad at him for kissing her on the cheek when she was basically giving him a strip tease, like at an after party. So, I mean, it's just sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can't put yourselves in precarious positions for stuff to happen to you. I mean, I've got 4 daughters, so I've talked about that till I'm blue in the face. Don't put yourself in that position. But the thing of it is, Luke Walton was rich even 3 years ago. So you have to come forward. I mean, if your daughters or wife or whatever, if you happen to put yourself in that position, which I hope that you don't, you can't just go, okay, I'm going to crawl into bed for 3 years. You've got to be stronger than that. You've got to come out and say, hey, look, this is what happened to me. And so I wish more women would do that right when it happens instead of waiting 20 years, 10 years, and things like that. But we'll know more when we get the particulars, get the specifics, and we can give a better judgment on it then. But yeah, I mean, to wait till 3 years, I mean, that just seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I wanted to touch on that just a little bit. It was in the back of my mind. I had to get it out there like a tad bit. But that is a show for today, guys. Normally we don't do a show on Wednesday, but Marcus, what do you think about doing an NFL draft show tomorrow? Get you a little bit more hyped.
No, hey, let's do it. We can do a draft show for an hour or whatever. That's fine.
So
absolutely,
we will hit a little bit on the playoffs. There's a few games happening. We'll quickly touch on that one segment. Then it's strictly NFL draft. It's the Draft Eve show. So guys, join us tomorrow. Same time as always. Same place. YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, etc. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow ourselves on Twitter. I'm at mbuck41. Marcus is at Marcus the Freak. Give us a follow. Interact with us a little bit on the Twitter webs. I like to interact with people because I troll a lot on there. So if you get a smart ass answer, it's normally because I'm trolling a little bit. But guys, join us tomorrow, same time, same place, and have a good day. Go Chiefs.